It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced white-knuckle racing just across the river, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. Get over to Joe's Karting today and do yourself right with a little bit of indoor racing. Got chilly all of a sudden last night, didn't it?
Well, I'm still thinking about fast-paced and white-knuckled and kind of relating that to Daytona last night. You talk about some white-knuckle racing.
Hey,
anytime you get next to Stenhouse, it comes white-knuckle racing.
Before we get things kicked off, got to send out a lot of thoughts and prayers. And today, we got to send out a lot of thoughts and prayers. Sending our best wishes to Jordan and Whitney Grabouski, who lost their child, unborn child, earlier this week. I know Jordan was incredibly excited to become a father for the first time.
Oh, we just had him on the show a couple weeks ago, and he was really pumped.
He was able to charge his way into victory lane last night at Eagle Raceway. And so we're just sending our thoughts and prayers. It's kind of one of those things that, unfortunately, death is a part of life, and it wasn't meant to be with their first child. But Jager Ace is a forever angel. So just if you get an opportunity, you see Jordan, you see Whitney, just send him your love. Let him know that you care. And then got to send out our best wishes to Trevor Grossenbacher, who was injured in an accident in his sprint car last night at Eagle Raceway. Kind of a violent accident in Turn 3. And Trevor was helped out of the car. And after continuing to feel some pain and being a little bit dizzy, they decided to send him to the hospital to get some further x-rays and examinations done. And I've heard conflicting reports, but all of it seems to be a back injury. Possibly not long-term threatening, but something that's probably going to keep him out of the car for a good portion of the year, if not the rest of the year. So please send your thoughts over to Jordan, Trevor Grossenbacher, as he is beginning his road to recovery. And then you saw it all over Facebook last night. Very, very scary moment as the B feature for the hobby stocks was under caution. The cone guy, the cone official for Eagle Raceway, Tim Kozak, was doing what he does. Walks out to the halfway through the front stretch and drops the cone and comes back to get set for the restart. And I didn't see it happen. I had my back turned to the whole situation. I've heard conflicting reports, but either way, it doesn't matter who did it, how they did it, or why they did it. A car struck him, and he was attended to in an incredibly quick manner. I mean, there was guys on top of him before he finished rolling and resting, coming to a rest on the front stretch. He was struck by the car, and that was probably the scariest thing I've ever had to experience in my life. But luckily, most of the time he was alert and responding to medical officials. And as he was getting loaded into the life flight, he was talking and talking back and forth coherently. It wasn't just kind of mumbling or slurred words or anything like that. So he was very coherent. We got an update later in the night that he was being prepped for surgery by a plastic surgeon to repair some damage to his head. But other than that, the prognosis was very favorable. So keep Jordan and Whitney Grossenbacher in your thoughts. Keep Trevor Grossenbacher in your thoughts. For crying out loud. Keep Jordan and Whitney Grabouski, Trevor Grossenbacher, and Tim Kozak in your thoughts and prayers over the next couple of weeks as they're going to need them. Yep.
I mean, kind of a triple header of tragedy. That's really odd, in our sport. I mean, they do hit. And, I mean, again, like you said, it's part of life when this stuff happens. But kind of got piled on this week. So
yeah, my last 2 days of racing have not been a very fun couple of days. A lot of wrecked cars, a lot of red flags, a lot of cautions, late nights at the track. I don't know what was going on at I-80, and then it went over to Eagle, but it was just, I don't know if it's a time of the year where guys are driving over their head. It doesn't feel like it to me. Typically, this is a beginning of the year thing if guys are driving over their head because they're so excited to get back in their car. They've had all this pent-up frustration because they haven't been able to race. But just something was going on. Eagle last night and I-80, I guess both of them were just incredibly fast tracks.
Well, and you also got the heat factor, which, people don't think race car drivers are athletes, but when you think about a Cup driver going 400 or 500 miles, in a 140-degree or 150-degree cockpit, the local drivers, have to deal with the heat too. And if it fatigues you just a little bit more than normal, or you lose a little bit of your focus because of it, that could definitely be a problem because it's been hot the last couple of days.
Absolutely. So, I don't know. It's just been a lot of cautions, 2 late nights at the track, and some injured people. Luckily, there was a lot more hard wrecks and only sore bodies. Trevor Grossenbacher was the one that really got hurt as a driver, and then Tim Kozak was the other one as an official. But so just a scary couple of days, and last night was one of those nights. A great couple of nights of racing in between the cautions and all the wrecks and all the destroyed cars. We got to send out our thoughts and prayers to those guys. And please, there's been some people that have posted some things on Facebook. Maybe I'm taking it the wrong way, but the driver that struck Tim, I can't imagine this was anything malicious. And I have actually seen people post something that would make me think that they believe that it was a malicious act. Why would you ever think that?
Well, why do people post what they post half the time? You can't get in everybody's head.
Yeah.
People have their own agenda for why stuff happens the way it does. Well, if he got run over, it had to be on purpose. Well, it may have been. We don't know. There's only one person that knows that.
Yeah, I almost got ran over last night in the pits, and I was sitting in a pretty secure spot. And thank God for one of the safety workers down there that pushed me out of the way of a car that was careening into the infield. It's incredibly nerve-wracking to be in the infield at a track. I have never, and maybe when I become a father, I'll understand this, but I have never understood why anybody would allow their child 15 or under, 14 or under, 16 or under to be in the pits. Kids are inherently spacey, and they don't pay attention to everything. I'm a 35-year-old grown man, and I am spacey at times. You know this.
I say you're going on 15.
Right. So. And I'm nerve-wracking as enough as it is. And, Tim was doing his job. Nobody was lax at their job, and something happened. And I was doing my job down in the pits. I didn't have my eyes up because I was busy trying to fix my equipment. Shouldn't have been doing it, but I was doing it, and I almost became a part of the storyline last night. So it's incredibly scary to be in the pits, not just at Eagle, but at I-82. So much stuff is happening. It's so loud. Your senses are overwhelmed that, the good old lesson, stop, look, and listen. Well, 2 of those don't really apply when you're in the pits because things happen so fast that by the time you look, you could already be a bug on a windshield.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I learned as an official very early on was to always keep your eyes on where the cars were coming from. So if you were standing on the back stretch, you looked at turn 2. You didn't look at turn 3. What happened in turn 3? I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't have eyes in the back of my head. I mean, all the years I officiated and worked back stretches for like Busch All-Star Tour races and stuff like that, I came real close to getting run over twice, but I saw the cars coming, and they weren't at race speed. I wasn't on the track while they were racing, but like working a lineup. Mm-hmm. And one of them, the guy, said he was picking mud off his windshield, and he had his hand in front of his face and didn't see me, but I saw him. I got out of the way. And another time, a guy said, well, it's just so dark back there, I just didn't see you.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 times it came close. But you always watch which way the cars are coming.
My gut feeling, and this is only my gut feeling. Again, I just want to reiterate, I had my back turned to the entire thing that happened. I saw the end result of it all. And I tried to collect as many stories of people who saw it. And honestly, I don't know many officials. I didn't hear one official that said, I absolutely saw it. But I can't believe this was anything malicious. And it just had, in my mind, the most rational explanation is that it happened so fast and the driver just didn't see Tim. And I think Tim, so long story short, we're into the show already, but send our thoughts and prayers to Tim. He should be good for a good recovery. A couple of weeks down and then back at it again. Hopefully, if he wants to come back and keep working. I know he's got a deep love for the sport. Him and I have had a lot of conversations just sitting down in the pits, shooting the breeze and talking about him as he used to be a driver in the area. I think he raced a stock car or a hobby stock car. And so I can't imagine he won't do it, but this may be a turning point for him, and he doesn't want to be in there anymore.
Yeah. And on a positive note, though, I did see a ton of great pictures looks like all the kids had a great time at the Triple S Money Grab on Friday night at I-80 Speedway.
Oh, yeah, that was a really fun event. It always is. And thank you so much to Luke for sponsoring that at I-80 Speedway and dropping the $1,000 in change. I always laugh with him because he goes, Dan, you have no idea how hard it is to get $1,000 in change until you try to do it. Because you have to reserve that money months in advance from the banks because they don't carry that much change on hand. But so it's always a cool event. And a big story out of Luke Cochran. He's going to be picking up the steering wheel again and put the fire suit back on. The Outlaws coming back in a Race Saver 305 in a couple of weeks at Eagle Raceway.
Yeah, he said it's kind of something he's always wanted to try, and so he's bought himself a car and going to go out and give it a try. Is it going to be a one-race wonder thing, or is it going to be, that scared me, I ain't getting back in it? I mean, it's hard telling what it's going to be like. Yeah, I know, I'd like to race, but I got no want to be in a sprint car. None at all.
I was thinking about that a lot last night. I don't think I would. I think it would be fun and an interesting thing to do once, but I don't think I would be able to do it like these guys do it on a regular basis. From my understanding from Luke, the plan is that if he gets the itch, he's going to go out and race it. But for the most part, that's going to be available for Jack to go and race whenever he's not in his 360 and doesn't have a full schedule. And speaking of Jack Dover, big 2-day win over at up at Wagner, South Dakota. Sweeping the weekend, picking up the Friday night win and the Saturday night win. So congratulations to Jack Dover Racing, picking up both wins Friday and Saturday night. And congratulations to McKenna Haase, picking up another 360 win over at Knoxville last night. So we're going to I keep saying this every time she wins in the season, we're going to have to get her back on the show.
Well, I mean, she was last week. She had a real quick flip, not even a flip. I mean, she rolled onto her side with some type of mechanical failure, and then to come back the next week and win. So she got right back in the saddle and went after it.
That's about how it goes, though. You go from wrecked one weekend to winner the next weekend, or you go from winner one weekend to wreck the next weekend.
Checkers or wreckers.
We got a couple of races to recap at from last two races in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. So let's talk about Chicagoland. I tell you, I have talked about this I don't know how many times because of how great of a finish it was. And I half-heartedly agree with Kyle Busch. I think his sentiment was correct. I think he worded it a little bit wrong. If you don't like what happened at the end of that race, I don't know what you're doing watching this sport. Because take out the fact that you don't like Kyle Busch and that you really wanted Kyle Larson to win. And that was one of the best finishes we've had in years.
And today's show is brought to you by Archer Purdue Suzuki. Check out archerpurdue.com and take a look at their inventory. We'll a little later in the show, we're going to have their car of the week. They will be open today from noon to 4, so you can go check that car out. But if you are in the need for a car or truck, go ahead and give them a shout, or at least give them a look.
Top 10 finishes from Chicagoland. This was last Sunday, 1 week ago today. Kyle Busch ended up getting the win, followed by Kyle Larson, then Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., and Clint Bowyer, top 5. Eric Jones was 6th, Denny Hamlin 7th, Joey Logano 8th, Brad Keselowski 9th, and Alex Bowman 10th. Really, most of your guys that you would expect to be up in the top 15 were. Austin Dillon had a wheel hub that went out, finished 37th, and our buddy Landon Castle, bad weekend, finished 36th in the 00. So that was last weekend at Chicagoland. And I just, while we got a couple of minutes before we switch over to Daytona and talk about last night's Wreckfest, that was an amazing couple of laps and something that if we would have that more often, we wouldn't be dealing with sponsor issues, butts and seats issues, and ratings issues.
Well, earlier when Kevin Harvick won the second stage, and his teammate goes, "Why was he racing me so hard for a stage win?" And Kevin Harvick's quote was, "Every point is important."
Yeah. Martin Truex Jr. proved that last year.
I mean, come on, Kurt Busch. What are you complaining for?
Well, I think he was just mad that he didn't get the point. And so he was, I don't know, leaning back on.
Well, maybe he should have tried a Kyle Larson and blocked a little bit.
Maybe. Maybe you should have. Absolutely. But that was such a great finish between those, between Kyle the Kyle and Kyle show, and I don't think there was anything dirty about it. Do you think it was?
Absolutely not. I mean, like Kyle Larson said later, when he went for his playing the slide job, which he's done plenty of times on the dirt track.
Yep.
And he knew he didn't clear him. He didn't try and hit Kyle Busch.
I don't think he meant to either. I think he just misjudged it.
Exactly. That's exactly what he said. And, even on his radio before he got back to pit road after the race, his spotter and crew chief and all were hollering. And he said, look, I got him. He got me. We're good.
Yeah. And I how many drivers could say that? I mean, Kyle just simply misjudged it, tapped Busch, and then when it happens back, you kind of go, well, that stinks, but I kind of had it coming.
Well, and put it this way, if he hadn't have tapped Busch, he wouldn't have been in front of him.
Yeah.
And Kyle dive bombed the turn to hit him. Mm-hmm. So that was on purpose. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, then he went and hit the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. It might have destroyed him. Kyle Larson still may have won the race because he did a heck of a job of staying off the wall. He just planted the gas, got down into the grass and still hung on for second place. Of course, he was 5 or 6 seconds back. It's a good thing they were so far out front.
Yeah.
But it was just some great racing, and Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s first race on the in the booth, and he just went absolutely nuts. And he was trying to get Rick Allen to say slide job, and he's jumping up and down in the booth going slide job. And now they've got a video out that JR Motorsports makes. I mean, they got people slide jobbing people with grocery carts in the grocery store. It's hilarious. But those guys at JR Motorsports do those little videos all the time, at least once a month, and they're great.
Dale's dubbed over with the video of him in the booth calling those that slide job. Oh my God. If you haven't seen the video, go to the Front Stretch Facebook page. It's the second post from the top. Absolutely hilarious. I watched it 3 or 4 times this weekend and just giggled like a little school kid. I just laughed so hard at that.
Well, I watched part of Dale's podcast, and he goes, well, I was trying to get Rick Allen to say slide job, and all I'm thinking is Rick Allen used to announce at Eagle Raceway. He knows what a slide job is.
Yeah. It's not, and I talked to a couple of, it's not a slide job if you don't finish it.
Exactly.
If you finish it and you complete it, then it's a slide job. But otherwise,
it's a slide job if you get up in front of the other guy. If he dives underneath you and crosses over and goes back in front, you still did your slide job.
Right.
But you don't slide job into the left rear quarter of a guy.
Yeah. What a great race. I mean, that was a great thing and I'm keeping that on my DVR so I can go back and watch it a couple of times in the off season. All right, let's switch gears to last night at Daytona.
Quote of the year came from I should say maybe the second quote of the year came after the finish of last night's race, because Kyle Busch is, if you don't like this kind of race and just don't watch, it's going to be very tough to beat.
Yeah.
But Eric Jones gets out of the car last night, and Rutledge Woods runs out onto the track and is sticking a mic in the first-time winner's face, and he looks to the crowd and he goes, how'd you like that finish, boys and girls?
Looking at the stat sheet, the official sheet, I've highlighted the drivers that would typically finish up front but have finished outside the top 20.
Or top 30?
And this one gets me. Let's see. Hang on. I got to do some math here. 21 of the 40 cars didn't finish the race. 19, excuse me. There was 2 cars still running. Paul Menard and Landon Castle were several laps down, still running outside of the top 20. Other than that, there was 19 cars that didn't finish the race because they were involved in an accident. I mean, that's just insane that there would be that many cars destroyed. But you know what? I guess that's what we love about super speedway racing.
Well, and the other thing that gets me by looking here at the point sheet is it's very odd when the top points getter only gets 40 points.
Yeah. And that was Kyle last week at Chicagoland. He walked away with 40 points after winning the race. Second place, third place, fourth place, all got more points than him.
Yeah, but this week, 40 points is the high point getter.
Tied.
And there's 3 of them.
Oh,
first place, fourth place, and Ricky Stenhouse in 17th place, tied for the most points because he won the 2 stages.
That's the good and the bad about
And then he crashed everybody else out of the race.
Yeah. Bad days. Here we go. Get ready for this. I'm going to take a deep breath. Blaney, Logano, Hamlin, Kurt Busch, Keselowski, Suarez, Elliott, Kyle Busch, Byron, LaJoie, McMurray, Larson, Menard, Almirola. Oh, McDowell? I took him.
Well, and out of what you just read, out of those 15 drivers, take out Corey LaJoie. I mean, he's really not a threat to win the race. I mean, he's in the Cup car, so, I mean, he's got a chance to win every week. But that was the name that didn't fit out of those 15 that you read.
Absolutely. So just a bit of a wreck fest last night at Daytona. Ended up being that Eric Jones passes Martin Truex Jr. for the lead on the backstretch and wins by, what did I see, 0.125 seconds?
I was going to say he won by about 3-4 car lengths, something like that. He was able to keep it stretched out. There wasn't a whole lot of blocking going on the last lap.
So there weren't any cars to block.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good pack. Our buddy Brendan Gaughan stayed up there. Where'd Brendan end up? I think he's
12th.
12th. Okay, so a decent finish for a small team.
Yeah.
A little beat up. Landon Castle would have finished a little bit better. He was involved in the green-white checker melee that happened. Otherwise, he had a clean car the whole race. But, oh, man, they just tore up a lot of cars. Yep. A lot of cars got tore up. What a demo derby.
So Eric Jones gets the win. Martin Truex Jr. comes home second. A.J. Allmendinger third. Casey Kane with a nice top 5 finish in his number 95 machine. Chris Buescher in 5th. Ty Dillon in 6th. Matt DiBenedetto in 7th. Ryan Newman in 8th. Austin Dillon 9th. And Alex Bowman rounds out your top 10. Jeffrey Earnhardt 11th. DJ Kennington 13th. We mentioned Brendan Gaughan in 12th. A couple of the guys that were up front that were survivors. Ray Black Jr., or Ray Black II, who had just gotten back into a ride this weekend, finished 16th. J.J. Yaley 18th. So good finishes for a couple of guys that will definitely enjoy, their organizations will definitely enjoy a nice payday. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back at turn number 2. Robbie Jorgensen, driver of the number 22 Grand National at I-80 Speedway and at Harlan, joined. I sat down with him Friday night in the pits and just had a conversation. We talked to him back at the Precise Racing Products Open House in, in February?
March, I think.
March,
but,
and
preseason.
We have so many interviews we've done between that one and the O'Reilly Auto Parts show that I felt so bad that we never got to Robbie's interview. So I wanted to sit down with him and do a mid-season recap so that way we can kind of keep up to date with everything that's going on with Robbie and how he's doing. And he had a really nice run on Friday night.
And kind of an oddball weekend. And from what I saw on Facebook, it looks like his dad came out and did a little racing. Looks like Grandpa ran a couple laps too.
His uncle.
Oh, it was his uncle that ran?
Well, unless it was last night. On Friday night, it was, is it Jeremy? What's their uncle's name?
Well, there's one, Jim Jorgensen.
No, it wasn't Jim. I'm drawing a blank. I'll have to look back on the stat sheet, but he said it was his uncle. Wanted to come out and race, and so he raced the 41J. And AJ, Robbie's brother, raced the 47, and then Robbie's been racing the 22 in honor of Craig Preble. So that was the 3 cars they had out there, and but neither of the Daves raced last night or Friday night.
Okay, well then, boy, there was a picture of Dave Sr. in a fire suit, so maybe that was from Harlan then.
Could have been. I think, yeah, could have been. That could have been from Harlan. But anyways, all right, we're going to take a break. Robbie Jorgensen just around the corner on the front stretch.
Race fans all over the Midwest fill up at Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Grab the Metro's best wings and catch all the NASCAR and dirt late model action on the Brickyard big screens. Quaker Steak and Lube salutes two-wheel fans with the huge bike night on Wednesdays and showcases Motor City Metal with classic car cruising on Thursdays. Party with Dan and Dirk for the Dirt Derby Truck Series race in Eldora on Wednesday, July 18th.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
This is Jonathan Davenport, the 2016 Silver Dollar Nationals champion, and you're listening to the front stretch.
All right, sitting in the pits at I-80 Speedway after a heck of a night of racing and talking with Robbie Jorgensen, now driver of the number 22 Grand National. I know when we talked to you at the beginning of the year, the plan was to run the 41, right?
Correct. Yeah, we were going to run that car. The car I'm in right now, this 22 New Era Excavation Masters built. We started out the year in a Schwartz chassis, and that's what the 41 car is. But we took that a couple times, just really didn't like the way it was handling. And I had really good luck in Masters built cars, so we decided to hop. We had this car sitting there. It was originally just going to be for SLMR. It has an IMCA motor in it, but we decided, throw a restrictor plate on, put our twin tube shocks on, and go run with the Grand Nationals.
Just last weekend we had Ben Schouler on the show, and he was talking about kind of the relationship between the driver and the car, and it's like a relationship in a guy and a girlfriend. Sometimes everything looks great on paper, and it should work for you, but then when you actually get out there and experience it, it just doesn't fit you quite right.
Absolutely. I mean, I started out in a Masters built, so it's kind of just feels right at home for me. And just these cars, to me, they seem more forgiving.
Yeah.
A Schwartz, to me, some guys really like them, and that's great. I mean, whatever floats your boat. But I got in it, and I feel like I had to do a hell of a lot of work just to be okay.
Yeah.
When I first started out, it just...
Explain forgiving a little bit for fans. What do you mean by forgiving?
Well, when you make adjustments... I imagine racing just in general, whether it be driving, setup, whatever, as an imaginary balance beam.
Yeah.
If you go too far one way, you're going to really hurt yourself over here. If you go, whether that be with the steering wheel and the gas pedal through a corner or with a setup. If you go too far with a J bar, a 4-bar, lift bar, whatever, front end stuff. If you go too far one way, you're going to hurt yourself somewhere else.
Yeah.
And some cars are more sensitive to change than others.
I see.
And to me, the Schwartz is very sensitive to change, and some guys like that. I myself don't. The Masters built, it seems like whatever I throw at it, it's always pretty drivable.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was always tuning myself out with the Schwartz. And I'm not saying Schwartz are bad race cars by any means.
Right.
But just for me, what works for you works. I mean, if Scott Bloomquist got in an XR1, he might hate it. He might not be able to drive it. I mean, he probably could drive it and do okay, but he likes what he likes, and it's the same thing even at a local level.
Yeah.
You like what you like, and if it works, it works.
Tonight's race, I think it was probably the best race of the year you've had, at least at I-80 Speedway.
Oh, hands down. The best finish we've had all year. It seems like every year we come out, or every race week we come out. We've been hitting here in Harlan as much as we can. But every time we come out, we just get better. It's always it's a very gradual climb right now, and I'm really, we're enjoying it.
I was kind of impressed tonight because I've seen you hanging around there all year long. You've been top 5, top 7. You've been right there, but tonight it seemed like you held your own. You didn't luck into a good finish. You didn't strategy your way into a good finish. You fought for a good finish.
Yep, and some of it comes down to when you're racing, sometimes you get things go your way. Sometimes it's luck, and sometimes I'd rather be lucky than good any day.
A lot of drivers say that.
But, first took the green flag, and I was a little bit hesitant on the start. I thought I wasn't sure. On the bottom, I thought it was going to be kind of, I thought the top was going to be the dominant lane. They were just going to freight train right by us.
Yeah.
But I kind of held my own on the bottom, but as soon as I could get to the top, I just let the dog eat.
Yeah. And I think you got to take a lot of credit away from what you were able to do tonight. I mean, a third-place finish, but you held your own against Jacob Brown, and you gave him a run for his money for quite a few laps.
Yeah, I mean, when you're out there, for a while, when you're not doing well, you wonder, is it me? Am I sucking this bad? Yeah. Is it the car? Is it both? And sometimes, for me, it kind of was both. I picked up bad habits from this car and a car we had previously, and then you start doing better, you get in something, it's just like a snowball effect. You just keep going and going, and it gets better and better. I mean, if you think you're going to come out here and go from last to first, it's just not going to happen. You just got to keep going, put your time in, look at your notes, take notes, learn, ask other people, and just keep progressing. It's all, and then you'll have the snowball effect. It'll come with time.
Is this the car, the MB Custom? Is that the one you won the race in last year?
This is an MB Custom, but or 2 years was that 3 years ago?
No.
2015. In 2015, I thought
you won a race last year.
No, I came close.
Well, you've never won a race while I was actually working at the track.
That's correct.
So, I guess I really can't say.
My one and only win came in the 47 car that my brother drives. And then me thinking, it'll be great. I'll just get something newer, fresher. It didn't jive.
Yeah.
And I wish I had that car back. But this car I'm in now is very similar. It's just a year older. and it's pretty much the same car.
That's the thing I always get a kick out of it. And we got to talk to you at the beginning of the season at the Precise Racing Products Open House. Unfortunately, we never got to air it, and now by the time we're getting around to having time to air it, it's a little bit outdated. But I always get a kick out of drivers that you guys get used to a car, and you find success in a car, and then you go and buy a new one.
Yeah, I'm not doing. I did it once. With the like I just said, with the 47 car, my brother's in, AJ Jorgensen. I won a feature in that, and I thought, you know what? If I can really do something in this car, let's go get something else. Get something a bit newer. And I start, I had a couple good runs, and what we got was another Masters built car, but is a square tube, and they handle, once again, it's variables like that, or cars differ. And it just didn't quite jive with me. We realized we were doing some things wrong all year that we didn't know, because we'd never had a square tube car before.
Yeah.
And we learned from it, and we started getting better with it. Then last year at Harlan, got into a little incident and crashed it, totaled it, and now it's gone. But that's how she goes. Way she goes.
Yeah, that is how it goes. And we had a couple of cars torn up tonight. But going back to your run tonight, it's got to be a confidence builder for you when you get into the heat of the summer and the rest of the year.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it kind of, it's bittersweet because we're already almost. Are we at halfway or a little bit
we
past?
We are, week 7.
We are halfway. And it's good to be, at least I'm hitting my stride. It'd be worse to not hit it at all. But yeah, it's definitely nice to come out and do well and be, especially with these big specials coming up in the late summer, early, Cornhusker Classic, things like that. But yeah, definitely a momentum booster.
Any big races you got planned for the year? Are you going to try to do any kind of crazy things with like the Silver Dollar Nationals or any races coming up?
If anybody out there has, a $50,000 motor that they'd like to loan and some shocks, I'd be more than I'll do it.
Hey, let me check my pockets real quick.
Yeah, check the pockets. If anybody out there has the money, if anybody wants to see me or my brother, or both of us, maybe we'll start a GoFundMe page. But
we got to sell a lot of front stretch hats in order to get you guys.
Do. Yes, you do. But no, for the most part, we're just going to keep it weekly, keep it local. We're going to race at Harlan on Saturdays with my car, regardless if it's Supers or Grand Nationals over there. Or bragging rights is what they call it, big point fun deal across the states. But we're going to hit Harlan. We're going to race at I-80 every chance we can. We'll definitely be at I-80 all the time. We're going to go to Harlan the most we can, and I might do Denison with the SLMR, but part of me would really hate to go over there and get torn up with with my primary car.
That's a good track, though.
It is. It looks like fun.
I loved watching guys race on that track, and a lot of people had a lot of fun with it.
Oh, I other than that, we're just going to keep it local, but Denison I'd like to do, and we'll be here for the Prelude the Thursday night before the Silver Dollar Nationals, starting with the Malvern Bank Series, and then we'll chip in at the Fall Brawl, I'm sure. And then get ready for the Cornhusker.
Yeah, and then go buy a new car, right?
No, not at all.
Lesson learned.
No, I'm just gonna keep it. I'm just gonna keep running. It gives me a lot of pride when when some guy who's maybe spent more money than me, or has got more money than me with a brand new whatever you name it, and I slide across him with an 08 Masters belt. Cleanly, not just into it, but
right. Not taking his nose off.
Yeah, exactly.
With your family lineage, you've got a lot of people to lean on for advice, tips, tricks, little stuff like that. But at some point in time, you got to do you.
Oh, absolutely. And yes, I mean, some things in racing never change, but the way the cars are nowadays, I mean, some of the things my grandpa wants to do, my grandpa will say, hey, we should, put the short bar on the left rear upper, left rear top rod. And my dad's like, well, you remember what you're doing in 2000, whatever, with every other corner of the car. It's just things like that are like, yeah, it's a good idea. And you take them and, use them later on. But sometimes you just got, what I'm saying is as the years go by, the setups have changed so much. Some things always remain the same, but if you try to go out here with a setup from 1995, I don't think it'll work.
Right, because it may have worked in 95, but things have gotten a lot quicker.
Exactly. Things have changed. But, I definitely take advice from my grandpa, my uncles, my dad especially. It's all a team effort. If I didn't have my grandpa helping out, he's got a shop. He lets us keep our cars out at the shop behind his house, and he owns the trailers. It's just it's a team effort.
Yeah.
If it was just me and my dad, it'd be very tough. We might be showing up with a wood flatbed and with a couple tires missing. It wouldn't be pretty.
The number on the side of the card, does that hold any meaning to you, or are you just happy to go out and race whatever number
22
you can?
and 41?
Yeah.
Well, 41 was my Uncle Jerry's number, and my dad was actually number 1 for a long time, if anybody out there remembers the Sunset days, as was my grandpa. He was 11, then 1. But my dad was 1 for a long time. We came out here for a race, and we saw like 12 number 1s. My dad's like, I'm going to have to go with 41. So he ran 41 for a few years, and then I just took it over. I actually wanted to be number 89, but the 41 sticker was already on the roof, so we just went with it. We just went with 41. And I ran 40. I've been 41 for quite a while, but then 22 is for Craig Preble, a friend of ours.
Okay.
He was injured in an accident
Yeah.
in a lake up there. He's paralyzed from the neck down, but that 22 is definitely a special number for me. I'm very proud to come out here and race with it.
Yeah.
And we'll continue. If we have a third car, it'll always be 22, and I might. Who knows? Maybe I'll keep 22 forever.
You're obviously big into the racing, and we've got a couple of weeks to go until the Silver Dollar Nationals. Can I get you to give us your pick for the Lucas Oil feature on Saturday night without watching any practice, any features,
without
anything
any
like
practice or any features? Well, ooh.
Do you think Bobby Pierce can do it at his first time out?
I don't know. It's pretty tough. I mean, this track is any track really. If you show up to it your first time, especially with a big event like that where everybody's gunning pretty hard. I don't know. I think Scott Bloomquist comes out and gets her done.
Good
or
for Bobby
Tim
is
McCready.
he's got a whole feature on Thursday night to get used to the track.
That's true.
And then he can come out and win the 53,000 on Saturday.
My pick is Bloomer or McCready.
Yeah.
Two of my favorites.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Bloomer. I think he's got something to prove.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think I probably wouldn't be picking him if it wouldn't have been for all this rotator cuff story in the news. Like, usually when he's in the news for something, he comes out and sets the world on fire just shortly after that.
Yeah, I like Bloomquist.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of like, I'm not going to compare him to Kyle Busch because he's way better than Kyle Busch, but he's kind of like that same, you either love him or you hate him.
Right. He's the villain, anti-villain,
yeah, but
anti-hero.
He's I respect him for the simple fact that he's been around this long and he just keeps going.
Isn't
and he
it?
just
I mean,
keeps winning. Just doesn't stop.
Every other sport, even in racing, you get phased out eventually because your reaction time just slows down enough to where you're not able to, and he's still doing it.
And then just the physical toll. I mean, I race 2 nights a week, sometimes just one. Sometimes none. And it's every other week for weather or whatever, and it feels tiring with work and then working on the cars at night and then going racing. But guys like him and just all those guys have been on the tour for so long, have been going at it, and they don't relax. It's not like a cup driver where they show up and just drive it and they sit in their motorhomes.
Yeah.
They're crammed in a motorhome with a couple other sweaty dudes every night. They're busting their tails, working hard, just grinding away, and they just keep going.
Is that your end goal, or would NASCAR be your end goal?
Oh, I'd definitely rather be on the Lucas Oil Tour. To me, that's real racing. NASCAR is. I mean, I like NASCAR. Don't get me wrong, but to me, it's just Lucas Oil's better. I feel like NASCAR's gotten away from the people that built it up, and they're trying to pander to an audience that really doesn't care. I would much rather be racing against guys like Brandon Shepherd and Bloomquist and Tim McCready and Josh Rich. I mean, that to me, that. Is it more work and less pay? Absolutely, but I'll take either one.
It's
though.
more fun though.
It is more.
You're
fun.
not going to turn down a ride, is what you're saying.
I'm not going to turn down a ride from anybody. If anybody out there wants to hook me up with Richard Childress or anybody else, that'd be great.
All right, Robbie Jorgensen. You'll see him in the 22 for the rest of the year, right?
Correct.
That's the plan.
The plan.
The best laid plans of mice and men. Yada yada yada.
Yeah. It all. You think you always have it together on paper, then you get into it and you don't. Things change.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Today's live show is brought to you by Archer Purdue Auto Sales at 14227 S Street in Omaha. Find them online or give them a call today at 402-891-1100.
Okay, today, the car of the week for Archer Purdue Used Auto Sales is a 2013 Kia Sportage, one-owner trade-in, $13,900, and you can see that car at archerpurdue.com, or you can go ahead and drive on out. They will be open today from noon to 4, but give them a look for all your automotive needs. They are also the home of the $149 a month payment.
Ooh, that's a lot lower than I'm paying for my truck right now. Archer Purdue Auto Sales. Thanks a lot for them sponsoring today's live show on the Front Stretch.
Race fans all over the Midwest, fill up at Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Grab the Metro's best wings and catch all the NASCAR and Dirt late model action on the Brickyard big screens. Quaker Steak and Lube salutes two-wheel fans with the huge bike night on Wednesdays and showcases Motor City Metal with classic car cruising on Thursdays. Party with Dan and Dirk for the Dirt Derby Truck Series race in Eldora on Wednesday, July 18th.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Just about 20 minutes left to go before we wrap up today's front stretch. Got to say a big thank you to everybody that supports us, shows thank you, shows love. Quaker Steak and Lube, Joe's Karting, all the great locations, all the great sponsors, Archer Purdue Auto Sales, like we talked about. Rick Havendrige, who presents the Pick'ems contest on the front stretch.
Pick'ems contest. We
Rick
still doing
Havendrige.
that?
Oh yeah, Rick Havendrige of Wealth Partners, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated. Find them online at truewealthpartners.com. If you want to show your support as a fan of the front stretch, Dirk and I are sporting our fancy new front stretch hats. And we've got a lot of guys. Adam Gullion sporting his. Stu Snyder's got his on.
Are they going to be able to see these hats when we do our podcast? I mean, oh, we don't have a podcast. Okay, my bad.
No, we're actually on the radio. We don't have just a podcast. We don't sit in some person's basement and have
Maybe we should.
Not in my basement. Not right now. My basement's a nightmare after the last couple of weeks.
We'll just do it in your backyard. Maybe that deer will visit.
Yeah, there we go. We can get some. Then we'll have some actual guests on the show. Oh, that was mean. I want to say a big thank you to Robbie Jorgensen. And by the way, we've got tickets to give out to Hairball. It's the ultimate 80s tribute band going on at I believe it would be the Adams County Fair tomorrow. It's going on at the Adams County Fairgrounds, which is right there at the Speedway.
Yep.
I don't know if it's a part of their actual fair because July is fair season, but I don't have all those details. But nonetheless, tickets for you are available now. All you got to do, call 402-573-0590.
How many tickets is that? A 4-pack?
4-pack. Yes,
4-pack.
4 tickets, so you and a couple of friends can go, or you can scalp them online, make yourself a couple of bucks. But 402-573-0590. Answer this question. Really simple. We talked about it a couple of times in turn 1, and we talked about it several times in turn 2. What is Robbie Jorgensen's car number? He's raced a couple of different ones over the years.
But he's doing a tribute car.
Right. What is Robbie Jorgensen's car number? So if you listened during turn 2, you could have heard it. You should have heard it if you were paying attention. 402-573-0590. If we don't get that one, then we will weird. I'm just getting word that maybe my date's wrong on that. Okay, anyways, the hairband, the ultimate tribute band. Okay, the ticket says July 9th. Right? Am I reading that right, Dirk?
The ticket does say July 9th.
It was a very,
right
very late night for me last night. But anyways, I feel like Ron Burgundy the last couple of days. I can only read what is given to me. Kind of like Craig last weekend when I gave him the wrong answer.
And sometimes you don't read that very good, too. But
oh, boy. 402-573-0590. You're either going to Hairball tomorrow night
or the 21st.
Or in a couple of weeks. We'll see which one it is. 402-573-0590. If you know the answer, what is Robbie Jorgensen's car number? Then we will. You'll get a 4-pack of tickets. We're going to be giving those away. The plan is for the rest of today, but we may be giving away for a couple more weeks. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Pick'ems contest that was presented by Rick Havendrige of Wealth Partners, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Again, visit them at truewealthpartners.com. We have the 2 contests going on right now. Should we start with the 5-week or the season-long?
Well, obviously everybody's more interested in the 5-week right now. And I got to thinking about something this week because I was looking at the standings and discussing the contest with my brother because he's a participant. But this is going to be like the first 5-week contest that he hasn't done very well in. I mean, he's way back, and he picked Kyle Busch last night. So he went even further back probably than what he was. He was tied for like 58th or something. And but we need to go ahead and we need to trademark Crewman for a Day.
Oh, do we?
Well, there's probably going to be 10 or 12 other radio stations copying us. Mm-hmm. And if somebody else trademarks it.
we have gotten so many compliments from people within the racing industry of how cool this is.
Exactly.
And every contestant that wins, I love to see the look on their face after the race weekend is over with, because it's such a peek behind the curtain of how all this stuff works.
Well, it really is. And I mean, even our winners will tell you, they just sit there after about an hour or two of, getting shown things and stuff, go, wow, I didn't realize this much was happening back here, you know.
Yep.
But, I could just see a promotional guy from Kansas Speedway trying to get a local radio station in Kansas to run the same type of promotion. So we need to go ahead and trademark that.
We probably should. The good news is that they don't get as much support from Kansas City as we give them. We're in pretty good with Kansas City and with Iowa. But you're absolutely right. We probably should trademark that. That way, if anybody ever does it, we can sue them and make a lot of money.
Well, at least make some money.
The American way.
America.
Don't earn it, sue for it. Gold, darn it. All right, so looking at the 5-week contest, Dirk, we talked about this after the first week or two, how it was a leader and then a pack of 20 for second, and now it's starting to shake itself out. Holly Humphrey Larson with 167 points, 3-point lead over Jean, and then and it stays pretty consistent from there on out.
Now, was that after last night's race?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so there
it's
still
updated.
might be some penalties that come in for that.
Absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out. Andrew Cossett sitting in third place. Then we have Karen Smith, who was our winner from the May race
for Kansas
Speedway. She's in fourth place. And Bob Kroger, who is a big David Starr fan over in the central Nebraska area. Him and his wife, Bob and Lori, they're big supporters of David Starr, and that's how we actually met him.
Oh, I thought he owned Baker's Supermarket.
Boy, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Kroger Foods?
Yeah.
Okay. Little deep for everybody, but sorry about that. I know it's early on Sunday morning, but
and then David Ackerson, who was a benefactor to his wife Tara, winning at Iowa Speedway this time last year, sitting in sixth. All of these people within striking distance. 167 points for the leader. Fifth place. Bob is 152, so only 15 points behind. Now we're going to Kentucky, so those big point swings aren't going to be like we've seen in the past unless something fluky happens, which perfectly well could.
Well, and now, let's face it, when it gets down to a contest like this, everybody's taking, in that 5-week time frame, everybody's going to take Harvick, everybody's going to take Martin Truex, everybody's going to take Kyle Busch. But, then the other two are kind of flexible on who you might take. Mm-hmm. But I remember we looked at one of them, and it might have been the May contest or it might have been the October contest last year, where the top 5 people after 4 weeks had all taken the same 4 guys. But it was when they took them.
Yeah.
And this week a guy gets a couple stage wins and whatnot and scores 57 points. Well, he might win the next race and only get 50 points.
Yeah.
So it's when you take them.
And the tough thing with this point system, look back at last weekend at Chicago, when you took Kyle Busch and he won the race, you think, awesome, I took Kyle Busch and I won the race. But somebody who took Larson, Harvick, or Truex didn't win the race, but they received more points because they had more consistent days.
The stage wins. And
right.
We were just talking about that with last night's race with Ricky Stenhouse. He scored just as many points, finishing 17th, as the top guy in points, because he had the 2 stage wins. So he had 20 points right off the bat. So it gets interesting when you're sitting on our end.
Yeah.
And can see all that stuff.
Watching it all unfold. Absolutely.
And, even in the contest in May, we had somebody come from way back to finish 5th, and because I think if I remember right, he took Logano at the last race, and that was when Logano had a really good run and a lot of points that day. So, obviously you and I aren't eligible in the 5 weeks, so I don't even enter. No sense wasting, a little bit of money for the sponsor.
Right.
And the way I'm picking it wouldn't make any difference.
It's been rough for you and I both. It's really, at this point, I'm really hoping I could at least beat my girlfriend. Because her... You know how you always hear about these stories about people that pick perfect pools during the March Madness
so how'd you pick your pool? All by the mascot color.
Exactly. Sarah's using a random number generator.
There you go.
And she's beating me.
Well, if the random number 4 and 78 and 18 come up a lot, yeah.
And she's like, last night she goes, Matt DiBenedetto, or no, excuse me, Michael McDowell. Who's he? And I said, he's actually not a bad pick for Daytona, because I hate using the big guys, the Logano's, the Keselowskis, the Harvicks, the Truex Juniors. I don't like using those guys at Daytona because they can just as easily get wiped out as somebody like Michael McDowell. Now, if I took Michael McDowell, I still have a Kevin Harvick pick left when he's got a less likely chance of getting taken out because he's running up front. So she went ahead and took him, and then I thought, that's not a bad idea. I think I'm going to take him. I talked myself into it, and that didn't work out for either of us. So maybe it's just these contests. By the way, if you've never been a part of the Pick'ems contest, we've got another one that we're working on, getting the details finalized for October in Kansas City for the Kansas Speedway Hollywood Casino 400 in October for the playoff race. They're really, really simple. Some fantasy leagues, I'm turned off by them because they're way too complicated. And that includes NASCAR's. This convoluted thing they've come up with it's just where you can switch a driver out during the stages and put another driver in. And I understand what they're trying to do, but for a guy like me that just really prefers things as simple as possible, it's too much for me.
Look at our hat, folks.
Right.
Could you get any more simple than our hat?
Absolutely. So our Pick'ems contest works really simple. It goes off the NASCAR Cup Series point systems for the championship driver point system. You pick a driver you think is going to do the best. You can only pick a driver 3 times in the entire season, and you have to have your picks in before an hour before green flag. That's our rule system. It's really, really simple. Oh, and then if your driver gets penalized that you took that race weekend for any points, penalties, rules, infractions, you'll receive those same points, penalties.
And that's actual NASCAR penalties, not the one Dan and I make up for people.
Right.
Because we've got a lot of people that are in the negative right now on the season standings because we make up our own penalties.
So looking over at the season-long contest, also presented by Rick Havendrige of Wealth Partners, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated. Visit them online, truewealthpartners.com. By the way, I do have to say this. The way everything goes in life, and maybe it's because I'm 35 and just kind of starting to think about, when I turn 60 and 65 and how much longer I want to work 7 different jobs and have 2.5 days off a week. It's never too early or too late to talk to a financial advisor.
2.5 days off a week. How do you manage that? I was going to say maybe 2 half days, but not 2.5 days.
Yeah, when I say that, I mean that I got 2 nights off a week, 2.5 nights off a week.
Oh, 2.5 evenings off.
I only work 9 to 5, 2 days out of the week. And then the other weeks I'm working 9 to 5 plus usually 5 to 11 or midnight. Anyways, woe was me. My life was really, really hard. Can't believe I have to do what I have to do. And then, then I got to get up on Sunday mornings, and I need to go on Dr. Phil. But anyways, go over to truewealthpartners.com, financial advisor. Go talk to Rick. He does a fantastic job. I got to sit down with him so I can get my financials in line because, honestly, like I said, I'm 35, and I know that I put money into something, and I've got money sitting in this 40-something thing. I don't know how much. I don't know if it's doing me any good. And so I don't know. Go talk to a wealth advisor.
A 40-something thing?
Right.
You might have money sitting in Luke's race car, maybe.
Oh, boy. I better go figure. If I got money sitting in a race car, that's a bad deal. Looking at the season-long contest, man, this is just not even – it's a good thing we have the playoff system where we reset when the playoffs start on race number 26 this year in Las Vegas, because Dennis Broadhammer, almost a 51-point advantage over Kevin Beadle right now, sitting in second place. And I was looking at Dennis's numbers. He's pretty well set for the entire contest because when we reset for the playoffs, we give you 3 bonus playoff points for every win you picked in the regular season. And I think last time I looked, Dennis has 4 or 5 wins on the season.
Yeah.
And when we redid the contest, when we put it onto the site, we used to go by wins got you in first, and then your points carried you over. Now it's points only get you in, and wins get you bonuses to kick off the playoffs. And Dennis is sitting right at the point where 5 to 7 was where you wanted to be, wins on the season. And Dennis is right there.
Yeah, but you also got to look. I mean, if out of his 5 wins, if 3 of them came from Kurt Busch or from Kyle Busch, then he can't pick Kyle in the playoffs. If 3 of them
three
came
of your
from
wins
Harvick.
came from Kyle Busch, you've maximized your Kyle Busch picks.
Exactly.
Though.
Where I ran in last year, I ended up like 17th, so I missed by the 1 spot. But I would have had 2 Harvick picks in the playoffs. I would have had 2 Kyle Busch picks in the playoff. I mean, I saved a bunch of picks.
Yeah.
And it kind of come back and bit me. There was a couple races where I would have picked a winner and I'd have gotten the playoffs, but my strategy would have been bad. This year, my strategy is just to go ahead and see who I can get that finishes 38th, 39th, or 40th. And sometimes there's only 38 people, but my guy still finishes 39th or 40th. So it's just been one of those years.
Yeah, that's fantasy leagues for you. So you can get more information on our Pick'ems contest. If you want to join, just email us, frontstretchradio@gmail.com, and we'll get you set into our email list for when we send out the information on the Kansas Speedway contest. And you could win a pair of tickets and garage passes to go down and enjoy the race weekend. The great thing is you're not, whoever it is we get tied to, and by the way, we are working on a big name team, because we like to do both ends of the spectrum. Because I think it's 2 different experiences when you go and you follow a Starcom and then you go and follow a Joe Gibbs Racing for the weekend.
Or if you follow a David Starr, and then go follow, let's just say, a Daniel Hemrick or something like that. Even if it's in the Xfinity Series, when you go from your smaller team to your bigger team, there is just so much difference in their budget, and you get to see that. And you get to see it when you're, if you're with the small team and you're wandering around, we'll take you around and show you some of the stuff. Mm-hmm. And, you get to see how the big boys do it. You get to see how the small boys do it. So that part's real neat. And again, it's all thanks to Rick Havendrige, who does this for us.
And you get to not only that, but be with the teams, but you also get to walk around the garage and see all the other teams. So you're not just tethered to the one team that we get you partnered up with.
And when
that's pretty much race time only.
And like I said, if the top 5, the other 2nd through 5th also get race tickets, so you get to go to the race for free, even if you don't get the number 1 spot. Mm-hmm. And if you're in the season-long contest, we try and chase down and get lots of autographs, whether it's hats or hero cards or pieces of sheet metal. We try and get our hands on whatever we can. And at the end of the year, you're put in a pecking order. If you were first in the contest, you get the first choice out of our prize vault. And if you're 15th, then you get the 15th choice. But we usually have enough stuff that if you're in the top 25 or so, you can usually get a pretty nice hero card from a top driver or something like that.
Absolutely. Usually there's around 250 pieces in our prize vault. So, we have a lot of fun doing that stuff. Again, frontstretchradio@gmail.com if you want to get involved in it. We got to take a break. We'll come back at turn number 4, and we will get you set for this coming Saturday night's race at Kentucky Speedway. We'll be back here on the Front Stretch.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
Dan and Dirk are live for one last corner. Give them a call now at 402-573-0590.
Well, we went a little bit long, as we usually do, in turn number 3. So turn 4 is going to be pretty quick. I want to say a big thank you to Quaker Steak & Lube, the official watering hole of the Front Stretch. Make sure you join us July 19th at Quaker Steak & Lube. There's going to be a lot going on that night. Bike night for one of them, July 18th. Bike night's going to be one of them, as well as the what we used to call the Mud Summer Classic, but it's been rebranded, and I can't remember what they changed it to now, but I'm just going to keep calling it the Mud Summer Classic.
That's the way it should be.
The truck race at Eldora, if you don't have Fox Sports 1 and you want to be around some of the coolest, best people, come on down to Quaker Steak & Lube. It's going to be on the big screens in the Brickyard. So when you walk in the main entrance and they say, "Hi, welcome to Quaker Steak. How many people tonight?" Say, "However many you got," and we want to be in the Brickyard with the Front Stretch. They'll bring you over to the Brickyard. They'll get you all set up. We'll have the music ready, or the audio on, so that you can hear what's going on at the racetrack, and you can hear Michael Waltrip trying to talk about that dirt hill thing that intelligent dirt people call the cushion, and he's just kind of a moron. But that'll be going on July 18th at Quaker Steak & Lube in Council Bluffs. It's free to come down, but you will want to partake in a couple of alcoholic beverages or some of the food that is available down there. And then also the recapping last year's race at Kentucky. Now, this is a little bit different. This was race number 18, and we're on to, and so it's race number 19 this year. So the schedule's been flipped around just a little bit, but the results from last year, shocker, Martin Truex Jr. swept the weekend, won Stage 1, won Stage 2, and won the race. So he had 60 points on the day after leading 152 laps, led 5 different times. Kyle Larson came home second. Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Busch rounded out your top 5. Jones, McMurray, Logano, Harvick, and Blaney your top 10. Bad days for Johnson, Keselowski, Kane. They finished 40th through 38th, respectively. Also bad day for Kurt Busch, finished 30th. Landon Castle, 26th when he was in the 34 car, so that wouldn't be a bad day for the Starcom Racing guys. Austin Dillon, 19th. Everybody else kind of finished wherever you would have expected them to finish. Get all your information in for Kentucky. We got a while to do it, but get your picks in on time. I think the race is scheduled. Actually, I don't have the exact time, so I don't want to say when the race is scheduled for on Saturday night. But coverage is going to be on NBCSN. And so you can catch that on the Sports Network. By the way, people have complained a little bit about not being able to see the race. There's available available streaming services. You can watch the race for incredibly cheap. And we've gone over. My apologies to Craig. Done a great job today. Do appreciate everybody for calling in and helping us out today with today's show.
Thanks to Arch Purdue Suzuki.
Absolutely. They'll be open at noon today. Archer Purdue Auto Sales. They'll be open at noon today. We'll do it again next weekend, live again, as we get you set for the Silver Dollar Nationals at I-80 Speedway. Thanks again, everybody. This has been The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.